All right. I'm going to get a little serious with you on this one. I usually, and I'm not going to use all my really fancy diagrams and whatnot. I just want to speak frankly to you. And I want to tell you how it all went down. I mean, I, around the age of 35, I picked up a drink 16 times. Um, and that's when the switch had flipped. And if I picked up a drink, I would be whatever it was, wine, beer, or anything, within a couple hours, I would have switched to vodka already. And within a couple more hours, yeah, within 5 hours, my whole focus in life would be drinking vodka. Nothing else registered as important at all. And I remember such horror stories, and when I was 35, I could do that for a little while, maybe a month or two before almost just dying. And so from the time I picked up to 2 months in, where I voluntarily would check myself into a detox. Sometimes, a couple times I stayed for the full rehab. That did nothing for me. But basically, it would be like once I got out, I was sober. They released me. I was thought, okay, I'm never going to do that again. That was a horrible experience. But my head started spinning. Head starts telling me I'm a piece of crap. I'm not good enough. I drink, 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 and the solution at all times was alcohol. Go get a drink. Go get a drink. Go get a drink. Basically, I remember I've never written songs before, but here's the song that I would have written because this is the way my voice, the voice inside me was like, just drink, 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 drink. Literally, it was like thousands of times a day, just screaming at me to get a drink, to overcome all the pieces of shit that I was. I wasn't good enough to in my I let myself down in my career. I had a fine career. I wasn't good enough. I was uglier than, less than, dumber than, uh, everything. I was just felt like I wasn't good enough in every area, and alcohol was always the solution that I was screaming. Um, and during those 8 year period, as I said, I picked up 16 times. I know that because I went to detox 16 different times. Because if I picked up, I was going to end up in a detox. Towards the end, I couldn't drink for a couple months. Towards the end, my body was getting so deteriorated that I would last maybe a week before I was on the verge of death. And it was just so damn sad. Like, I know I had serious anxiety, but I wouldn't say I was clinically depressed because I was just clinically sad because my life had become such a sad state. It wasn't just like there was like I say, I think depression is more like when you really fully don't even have reasons to be sad. There's just infinite sadness being thrown at you. I was infinitely anxious, which infinitely needed a drink, and which made me just so sad that I was throwing away my life year after year because I really felt like I had something to offer, and I was a good person. I was a happy person. I was a capable person, but I just had no control at all. I remember a couple times some particular horror stories. One time I remember waking up again in a loony bin, and this time I wasn't in a detox. I was actually the detox had been merged at this particular facility with an insane asylum, and I was put on the insane asylum side because there wasn't space on the well. I mean, if you're going to a detox, alcohol detox that much, you pretty much are insane. I pretty much was insane, so I fit there. But just waking up there, and for a few seconds, I thought, "Hey, I'm a normal person." And then I remembered, "Oh God, I'm here again," and it was just such a low moment. Remember another morning where on a Sunday, I live in Georgia, in the United States, and we used to have rules that liquor stores wouldn't open on Sundays. So and so you'd have to wait for a restaurant to open because you could get liquor there. They didn't start serving until after 12:30. So I just remembered like just all those Sundays just shivering. Or eventually, I found out, my wife, who's nowhere near an alcoholic, although she's pretty much quit altogether for my sake now, but she would always have a couple bottles of wine because she in the house. So I would just spend my time as most efficiently as I could. First, when I wake up, I would reach under the pillow to find that the vodka bottle that I hope wasn't finished yet. Oftentimes it was, and if it wasn't, I would finish it right then. Because alcohol had become more important than food. It become more important than water, and it basically had become just as important as breathing, or more important than breathing, because I was willing to give my life for it, because I was killing myself and still doing it. So when that wasn't there, one morning, um, I found a sweet stash of 2 bottles of red wine. Oh my gosh. And red wine, that's like nothing because I was drinking so much vodka, like red wine had nothing. And so I finished a bottle of wine and then I proceeded to throw it up. And I'm like, geez, I'm still not drunk. So I finished another bottle of red wine and I threw that up too. Yeah. It just the level of rock bottoms and the number of rock bottoms that I hit were just infinitely lower and lower and lower. It got to the point where I found out that there's actually alcohol in Listerine, and do not do that. I don't care how much of an alcohol you are, but I would drink Listerine, and the the explosive diarrhea, green explosive diarrhea that comes from Listerine is so painful. But this is what the alcoholic mind does. Once it takes over and it says nothing else exists in this world but alcohol, uh, that's what you'll do. And it's just like, I always, before I became an alcoholic, I always thought, well, those people that are alcoholics, they just, have weak willpower. And what I soon learned, I guess, the irony is that, yeah, it happened to me real bad, even though I thought I had a lot of willpower. There is no amount of, once, once you hit this level, there's no amount of willpower that can overcome a voice in your head that's screaming thousands and thousands of times a day. So it was miserable. And then my 16th time in a detox, February 25th, 2017, I checked in and it was the same old, just got out. And, I'd been to thousands of AA meetings. I'd been to hundreds of therapy meetings. I'd tried everything, spirituality. I went to Buddhist route. I went um, the meditation. I was doing everything. I wanted so much to live. I never had suicidal thoughts, but I was sitting there killing myself because I couldn't stop doing this. So I wanted so much to do it. So February 25th, 2017 was my last drink, but it was on March 14th, 2017 that something hit me like a ton of bricks. It was like I was starting to spiral down again, and I was sitting above a laundry basket, not about to throw up. I was, a couple weeks sober. Just it was starting to spiral, saying, "Oh, I'm a piece of crap. I'm worthless. I've got all this to-do list. And I can't get anything done because I'm not smart enough. I'm not good enough. Uh, I'm an idiot." And just like at the same time, it was just like after each one of those, "You're not good enough. Drink. You're a piece of crap. Drink. Nobody likes you. Drink, 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 drink." And while I was there, all of a sudden I was like, "Wait a second." This epiphany hit me. What the hell is going on? I don't believe any of that. There's this confounding thing in my head. It is a total lie. There's just so many lies in my head that I didn't put there. Well, I didn't decide to put addiction there. I didn't decide to put the anxiety there that I've had since I was a kid. And I didn't decide that I wasn't good enough. I believed that I was something and I was worthy, and all this stuff that I actually believed that was good about myself only had like 1% of my brain was only covered. The rest was totally encompassed by this incomplete set of beliefs that was total bullshit. And it was that moment, it was like, oh my gosh, my head's just wrong. And that was when it kind of led me into the path of figuring out, well, first of all, I realized that I don't need to believe anything that comes out of my head anymore, except for my overriding thoughts at that moment were, I'm good enough. I can handle this. I had kids at this time. And I always thought if I have kids, of course I'll never drink again because I'll love them so much that I'll never drink. It's the total opposite for a true alcoholic like me because I had kids and that I couldn't handle the burden of my own life. Handling the burden of these three kids that I loved so much was a hundreds of times more infinitely confounding. So it's like, so as I was saying, like the lies in my head is like, I can't handle raising kids. Billions of people have done it. I could handle that. I'm not good enough. I had a great career. I did great in high school, did great in college. I did great in my career afterwards. And I started my own business, and which was still going despite my alcoholism. But all the lies built up kind of like a facade to enable the alcoholism. So I realized all of it was lies. And I just, at that time, decided to stop listening to anything that came out of my head, except for the truth was that I'm good enough, I can handle this, and alcohol will never be there. And I would still hear that same voice screaming, go get that drink, go get the drink. And I would just was able to separate from it, see it as a lie, something totally separate from me inside of me. And that's what started leading me down into this exploration of the instinctual core solution. And it's something that I've heard about, we kind of hear about as a joke in a bar is like, hey, well, I'm a biological creature. I'm instinctually driven. I have to do these things. And but it's never been like a way to start taking care of yourself because and so what the IC is what I call the instinctual core is this basically a combination of all our survival instincts that's using our subconscious brain or more appropriately called the system one brain in behavioral economics. If you're familiar with that, they kind of talk about a system one brain that's running the show 90% of the time, and whatever's filled in that subconscious brain, that system one brain is basically what you're going to do because you're only running your own show 10% of the time. And so I started to look at it as like there's this instinctual core that's got an agenda, and that agenda is survival and all the survival instincts that we have, but none of them work in this day and age. It works for a world where our tribe is about 100 people and our entire world is about 100 square miles, and where there's actually real life threats all around the corner. And I started to realize not only that uh, I started to realize that all my anxiety was built upon threats that no longer exist because this instinctual core was looking for threats because it has to. It has to constantly be scanning the horizon for survival. So since it didn't find immediate threats, it would find threats further and further away. And I realized that like for me, like a huge thing was social anxiety, like walking into a public place and talking. And with these people have no respect for me. Some inside me said I was the bottom of the pecking order. People had no respect for me. People didn't like me. That's not true, but that's what the instinctual core was telling me. That's what it had developed. So we've got this agenda that's got its own subconscious brain that it's using that's putting all these ideas in our head and have been filling my idea with my head with the wrong ideas forever. And I remember as far back as my first memories, like going to kindergarten, I was petrified. Why? Because the instinctual core says you don't just all of a sudden leave your tribe. It was the first time I was around other people, and I was leaning more. My instinctual core was leaning more towards the flight side than the fight side, and it wanted to escape so badly. So I don't even look at that as who I was at all, or anything that I had learned before then, because my conscious self hadn't even come around. Anyways, when I started to look went deeper and deeper into this and all the science and psychology and behavioral economics and neurology, it all kind of backed it up to start taking on this new perspective where we have a separate intelligence inside our head. And I built an entire platform where people can come together and work on this together. And that is at theinstinctcenter.com. And in all my other videos, I show all about it. But this one is more about I just wanted to get my story out there and how bad it was and how all of a sudden instantly easy it became when I realized that there was something else filling up my head with all these lies. And simply by separating from that, in 9 years, I've not come close to having a drink. There's still been in the beginning, it would still scream, go get that drink, go get that drink, as like a puppy trying to say, let me get on the bed, let me get on the bed. But it realized real quick that it wasn't going to get that alcohol, and it just stopped screaming for it. And it realized real quick that I can walk, I'm going to go ahead and walk into any social setting and not give a shit that it's screaming, don't do this. You're jumping out of your position in the pecking order. They hate you. It stopped screaming that. So now I can walk into any place I want, feeling totally comfortable, talking to whoever I want. And it's just like, that's just one element of it. But I just have this absolute sense of freedom now that I've been liberated from the anxiety and the false solution of alcohol. And the last 9 years of my life, I mean, I'm not going to throw out how much fun I had as a kid drinking alcohol, but if I had learned this 8 years earlier, it certainly would have been great. But I'm not complaining at all because I did, and now I know what true happiness is rather than just pleasure seeking. So that's all I got. Hey, if you like the video, to spread this message out, subscribe, because in most of my videos, I'm showing you guys all about the IC solution and how I've created an interactive approach where we can all come to meet together to investigate our instinctual cores together. So we have something in common because our instinctual cores, our ICs, work off the same template and pretty much universally. And I found that through scientific studies. And the thousands of stories that I've heard and thousands of stories of my own, that you can figure out a way that it's the instinctual core that learned the wrong things using this dumb brain of ours that's messing us up. And it might be right for you. So like, subscribe, but most importantly, come to instinctcenter.com and check out what we got. Go to the homepage and just watch my little intro pitch and the quick start guide, and everything will open up from there. Okay, pleasure talking to you. I hope to meet you in the near future. Adios.